So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily MCQ Practice. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs through a set of 4 to 5 MCQs. Now, needless to say that this lecture series is very important for you guys if you're serious about your prelims examination. Okay? Because current affairs form a very important chunk of prelims examination. 40 to 50% of the questions are directly or indirectly related to current affairs. Therefore, you cannot choose to ignore current affairs. And what better way to revise current affairs than by getting the much needed MCQ practice, right? So make this lecture series a part of your daily routine, because through 4 to 5 MCQs on a daily basis, you would have practiced more than 1200 MCQs from the topic of current affairs for your prelims examination. Okay, so make it a part of your daily routine. Okay, let's start our discussion starting with question number 1. Consider the following statements regarding scramjet technology. These are air-breathing engines that compress incoming air to ignite the fuel. Ramjet engines have the capacity of functioning at hypersonic speeds. Use of scramjet engine for satellite launch vehicles would reduce the need for carrying oxidizers in the rocket. Okay. Now look, the engines used in missiles, okay, and launch vehicles used by ISROs, they are almost similar. Okay. Now the thing is that these rockets that carry missiles or that carry satellites, these rockets run on fuel. Okay. Now this fuel needs to burn to produce energy to propel the rocket. Okay. The thing is that to ignite this fuel, you need to carry an oxidizer. Okay. And then compress it and then ignite the fuel. But what if there is a technology that uses incoming atmospheric air? Okay. So when the rocket is traveling at high speeds, the incoming air towards it is allowed to enter the nozzle of the rocket. The air is coming at very high speeds and it gets compressed. And because of high pressure, high compression, its temperature rises and it ignites the fuel. Okay. Such rockets breathe air from outside. That is why these rockets are called air breathing engines or air breathing rockets. Now, this technology is known as Ramjet technology. All right. What do we call it? Ramjet technology. The thing is that Ramjet technology works in rockets. Of course, it works in rockets, but only in those rockets up to a speed of supersonic. Okay. So rockets flying at supersonic speeds, well, Ramjet engines work, but they are not functional at hypersonic speeds. Hypersonic speeds is that speed, or hypersonic speed is more than 5 times the speed of sound. Now, to allow these air-breathing engines to function at hypersonic speeds, an upgrade was done to ramjet engines called scramjet. And recently, DRDO and ISRO both have test-fired successful scramjet engines. So these are air-breathing engines that use compressed incoming air to ignite the fuel. Absolutely correct. Ramjet engines have the capacity of functioning at hypersonic? No, only supersonic. Scramjet engines have the capacity to run at hypersonic speeds. So this is false. Now, the reason why scramjet engines would be used for satellite launch vehicles is because it does away with the need of carrying an oxidizer to ignite the fuel. As you know, oxygen is required for burning. Oxygen is a supporter of combustion. This fuel won't burn if there is no oxygen around. That's why these rockets carry oxidizers. But if these rockets are able to breathe air from outside, there is no need of carrying an oxidizer or an additional weight in these rockets which are carrying satellites, right? So to do away with this requirement of carrying additional weight of oxidizers, additional weight, scramjet engines would be quite beneficial. Okay, so this statement is correct. Only two statements are correct. B. Question 2. Which of the following can be argued as a valid reason for imposing taxes on imports? To boost domestic manufacturing and the employment it generates, to reduce trade deficit with the trading partners, to encourage foreign companies to set up their manufacturing plants in India, to boost exports and improve forex reserves. Okay. The thing is that let's suppose India trades with China. Okay. India sells goods to China, buys goods from China. Okay. Now, the goods bought from China, well, they count as imports, and the goods exported to China, well, they count as exports. Now, India runs a lot of trade deficit, high volumes of trade deficit with China. Okay, which means that it imports more than it exports. Clear? Plus, China sells extremely cheap goods in India. Because of this reason, many Indian manufacturers are outcompeted by Chinese goods. They are not able to compete with Chinese goods because Chinese goods are extremely cheap. So, what can India do? Well, India can import a tax on Chinese imports. Okay, through that tax, what would happen? Well, through that tax, the price of these Chinese goods would increase because now, like that you have to pay more because of GST because government has levied a tax. Similarly, India would levy a high tax on Chinese imports so that Chinese imports become expensive in Indian markets and Indian industries can compete with them. Okay, because now Indian industries can also sell at their desired price. Okay, so levying tariffs on Chinese imports would boost domestic manufacturing because domestic industries would now get a chance to sell their products. Earlier, they were outcompeted by China. And if India's domestic manufacturing or domestic factory output increases, well, it will generate jobs. So this is correct. Well, if you put tariffs on imports and imports from China become expensive, many Indians would not opt for buying Chinese goods. Why? Because now Chinese goods are becoming expensive. Indians were buying Chinese goods because they were cheap, but now government has artificially increased their price. Now Indians won't buy Chinese goods, so India's imports would decline. India's trade deficit would decrease. So this can also be a reason. Now, one way through which Chinese companies can still sell in India despite this tax. Okay, Chinese companies can set up factories in India. Okay, and produce that good, and by producing goods in India, they will be able to sell those goods to Indians without the requirement of paying this tax because this tax is levied on imports. But if China is manufacturing in India, there is no need to import. So, to encourage foreign companies to set up their manufacturing plants in India, this is also one of the objectives of levying tariffs. To boost exports and improve forex reserves, well, import tariffs have no relation to exports. Okay, not a direct one though. Okay, so this is not one of the valid reasons. Answer is 1, 2, and 3. Question 3. Which of the following statements is are correct regarding Beti Bachao Beti Padhao program? It was launched in 2015 by PM Modi in Panipat, Haryana. The scheme is operational in 100 worst affected districts of India. Promotion of institutional births was one of the objectives of Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. So we all know about Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. It worked for saving the girl child and empowering the girl child by providing it with the much needed education, right? Now, this scheme was launched in 2015 in Panipat, Haryana. Yes. Now, initially, this scheme was launched in 100 worst affected districts, but then it was expanded to all the districts of the country. So, this statement is false. Okay, it is operational in all the districts of the country. Now, one of the objectives of Beti Bachao Beti Padhao program was to encourage people to go for institutional births. Now, what do we mean by institutional births? In remote villages or remote areas, uh, people do not opt for going to the hospital to deliver their baby. They call the nearby midwife or a local expert and they deliver the baby in the home. Okay. Now, this involves a lot of risks. Okay. Therefore, government wants that people should come to the hospital to deliver their babies. Okay, this is known as institutional birth. Institutional birth is better because local birth or non-institutional births involves a lot of risks. Because of that, there is no basically there is no regard for sanitation, hygiene, and it leads to a lot of infant mortality also. So, promotion of institutional births was one of the objectives. Yes, in fact, government had set itself a target of increasing institutional births by 1.5% every year under Beti Bachao Beti Padhao. So this is correct. 1 and 3. And last, consider the following statements regarding fundamental rights under Article 25. The doctrine of essential religious practice propounded by Supreme Court in 1954 allows only essential religious practices to be protected under Article 25. Article 25 does not give the freedom for religious conversion. Right to practice atheism is not protected under Article 25 of the Constitution. Now, look, Article 25 says that every person has the fundamental right of every person has this freedom of conscience, which means you can choose to believe in whatever God you want. You can choose to believe whatever you want. If you choose not to believe in any God and your conscience allows it, well, you are allowed to do that also. So, right to practice atheism is protected under Article 25 because Article 25 uses this phrase, freedom of conscience. Okay. Along with that, it says that you have the right to practice, profess, and propagate. Propagate means tell other people about the good things in your religion and encourage them to join your religion. Okay, so this involves conversion. But Article 25 allows for conversion, but it does not allow for forceful conversion. Okay, or conversion by giving some greed. Okay, so Article 25 does not give the freedom for religious conversion. It allows you to freely propagate your religion, but not forceful conversion. Okay, so right to practice atheism is not protected, it is protected. Article 25 does not give the freedom for religious conversion, it gives. Okay, now the thing is that this fundamental right provides every citizen with religious freedoms. Okay, you are free to practice, profess, and propagate your religion. Now, some people use this right to do whatever they want and call whatever they are doing as religious practice. So, for example, using loudspeakers for prayers and disturbing public order. Okay, now you might say that this is a religious practice and it is protected under Article 25, but the courts might say that loudspeakers are not essential practice. Okay, and only essential practices are protected under Article 25. You cannot call every practice of yours as religious practice and seek protection from Article 25. Okay, based on this reasoning, Supreme Court allowed criminalization of triple talaq. Okay, when triple talaq was being banned, many religious leaders went to the Supreme Court and they said that this is our religious practice and this is a violation of our Article 25, rights guaranteed under Article 25 if you are banning triple talaq. The Supreme Court said that triple talaq is not an essential practice of Islam. It is not practiced in many Muslim countries and therefore it does not get any protection from Article 25. Only essential practices that are key to that religion are protected under Article 25. Okay. Now, this doctrine of essential religious practice was given by Supreme Court in 1954 in a very famous case called Shirur Mutt case. Okay. In this case, Supreme Court said that only essential practices. Okay. For example, you might also say that we don't allow lower caste people to enter our temples because this is a religious practice and this is protected under the Constitution, Article 25. The Supreme Court will say no, this is not an essential practice of your religion, plus it's violative of morality also. Okay, so this statement is correct, only one. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I hope it has added value to your preparation, but it would add more value if you revise this lecture also. And by revision, I mean just give a cursory reading to the written detailed solutions to each and every MCQ discussed above. Okay. Now, these solutions are provided in our notes, and these notes are available on our Telegram channel. All you have to do is just click on the link given below this video in the comment section. It will take you to our Telegram channel, and from there you can download the notes for this lecture. On that note, I'll be signing off. Thank you so much, everyone.